Hello, everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 96. Andrew Eisen here, along with Zachary Knight. Hello, Zachary.
Hello, Andrew. Hello, everybody out there.
Oh, Matthew says it's Yokia. Okay.
Or yokai.
Oh, do you mean yokai? That would make a lot more sense. I
Yeah.
probably should have figured it was supposed to be yokai, but all right, cool. See, I haven't watched too much anime this season. I watched uh, Lupin the Third, the new one, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
I only saw the first episode, did a debut review on it. Rather liked it. Interested to see where it goes. Saw Magical Girl Ore, which was not great, which was frustrating
Yeah.
because it's got a pretty good premise, a good hook, a good design, but they just don't do very well.
Yeah.
I watched part of the second episode just to see where they were going to go with it, and they seem to take care of most of the problems I had in the first episode, but it's just not a show that's really interesting me. I just filmed a debut review like an hour ago. I watched the first episode of Agretzko, which is about a Sanrio, Hello Kitty.
Yeah.
We have a new character called Retzko, who's a red panda. Interestingly, looks a lot more like a red panda than Hello Kitty looks like a kitty, but that's neither here nor there. So the show is Agretzko, so aggressive or aggro
Yeah.
or agitated. I'm not sure, but a portmanteau of those two words. And it's about
Yeah.
Retzko is a office employee who's easily frustrated with all the crap that she has to put up with, and so to let out, she bottles up all her frustrations and lets it out by singing death metal in karaoke bars or karaoke
Okay.
stuff. And I actually rather enjoyed it, and I watched the second episode, and it's kind of. I went into it thinking this is probably going to be like one of those short form 3-minute animes that's just one joke. Oh, look at the cute panda singing death metal. That's the joke. And I was thinking, or it's a full length episode and it actually has
Yeah.
characters and story. It's slightly shorter than full length. It's 15 minutes, but it actually has characters and stories, and it's pretty cute. The only really the I get into this in my debut review episode, which I have something else coming first before Agretzko, and I don't remember what it is. But I think it's a harem anime of some sort. I forget what it was called because it wasn't memorable at all. But I think it was like a 3-minute harem anime, so at least it was short. Um, what the hell was I talking about? I forget. I'm sorry. I'm about as tired as Brian.
Apparently, we're getting a 4 kids situation with Ninja Batman. What do you mean,
Are
a
we?
4 kids?
I would imagine you mean that the localized version of Ninja Batman, which has been getting good reviews, surprisingly, because DC's cartoon output lately has not been great, is changed. 4Kids is notorious for making dumb uh, changes, some that are obvious censorship,
Yeah.
sexuality, nudity, profanity, violence, gore, things like that. And some of the 4Kids changes were just, I guess they felt they could do the show better. I mean, some of you at
Yeah.
least understood what they were doing, why they made a change. Others are like, well, why did you change that? It's like
Yeah.
someone has fish for dinner. It's like we should change that to pizza. It's like what?
Well, yeah.
And they like reanimate it. And it's like why? It's
Yeah.
like
Well, I'm familiar with some of that. It's like I watched a video recently. I forget which YouTube channel it was, but they were talking about some of that kind of stuff, and one of the things was like Pokemon, where they're they're eating rice balls,
mhm.
but Brock is going on about how he loves jelly-filled donuts and everything, and like another episode, it's like in the Japan, it's like a giant rice ball that's rolling towards them, but in the American release, it's a giant hoagie sandwich, a sub sandwich, and
You see, I always figure that that's an opportunity to educate other cultures about other cultures. Yeah, we don't have the rice the goo filled rice balls here,
yeah,
and but we have rice here. We know what rice is. I
yeah,
mean, there's very little foodstuffs in Japan that's just completely foreign.
yeah,
Um, so I never really understood. I mean, take it as an opportunity. I mean, for
right.
example, there's a holiday called White Day, and it's kind of
Does it come
the
after Labor Day?
uh, far enough after Labor Day. If I'm remembering it right, it comes like a month after Valentine's Day.
Okay.
If I'm remembering it correctly from reading liner notes, Valentine's Day is basically where I guess the guys give the girls chocolate and stuff, and then White Day is when they reciprocate. Um,
Okay.
so here we just have Valentine's Day where everyone gives everyone chocolate and flowers and cards and stuff. In Japan, I guess the girls get one day, the guys get another day. So yay. There's an example of something that we don't have here. But I always figure instead of changing the script and calling it Arbor Day and wondering why people are being weird about gifts on Arbor Day or something,
Yeah.
just even small children understand that this takes place in Japan and that there are other places with other holidays and stuff.
Yeah.
We've got the internet. We're aware of the rest of the world now.
Yeah. Just
So
one
use it
second
as an
here.
opportunity to teach. Bye, Zachary. So I should do a review on Gate. I saw the movie The Gate, which was 80s, late 80s, maybe early 90s. Pretty good. It's got Steven Dorff in it as a young kid.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Sorry.
yes.
All right. Just had to make sure I actually unmuted my mic.
So, I actually recorded the Leslie and Bob episode for Kulv Taroth, or whatever the new monster is in Monster Hunter World. I don't know if that's going to make an episode or not, because the way first of all, it's supposed to be a siege fight, meaning you're supposed to play with 15 other people and all go hammering on the sucker at the same time. I don't have PlayStation Plus, so I can't do that even if I wanted to.
Yeah.
So I'm in there just hammering on this big gold dragon, and this big gold dragon, she does not care. She's not. She's just kind of sitting there going, mm-hmm. And I'm doing my the big ultimate attack over and over and over on her tail, and she's like, mm-hmm. What are you doing back there? Whatever. You're not hurting anything. It was kind of embarrassing, really. And the way it's supposed to work is, when you first do the siege, you're supposed to gather her footprints and the crap that falls off of her, and that's you investigating the monster so that you can learn more about it and fight it more efficiently. And and then she'll run away, but you've learned stuff, and the meter fills, and the more the meter fills, the longer she'll stick around, the more likely her parts are to break. Your scout flies will actually track her throughout the level, that kind of a thing. So even with a big squad, you're probably going to have to fight her a couple of times before you can actually take her down. As one person, this might take you forever because she does not seem to care. So I may have to actually grind and just follow her around, picking up footprints and just maxing out the whole the meter before I can do any damage. And I'm not sure what to do with a video. Just record all of it and do a montage. I really don't know.
Maybe.
But I'm playing Yakuza right now, so I don't. I'm just not. I'm done with Monster Hunter World for right now. So, and that Siege quest is only for another couple of days. So I'll
Oh,
probably wait till it cycles back around and maybe then get back into it.
right.
Chaos says, "I see where Sega said they would consider bringing Yakuza 3 to 5 to PS4 if there was enough demand. 5 is already on the PS4. In fact, in America, it was exclusive to the PS4 digitally. In Japan, it was a physical release on PS3 and PS4. But to answer your question, no, I didn't see that. Um, but hey, I don't know if they're doing Kiwami versions of 3, 4, and 5. 3 would might be a good candidate because it left out some content when it came here back in 2011 ish, somewhere around there.
5 was the
Um,
PS3.
um, are you sure? You might be right.
Let's see
Let's
here.
let's
Yep,
look it up.
PlayStation 3. Yep,
Really?
I just looked it up.
Okay, got that completely wrong then. So was Yakuza 5 on the PS4 in Japan then? Do I just have that backwards or am I just completely wrong?
No, Wikipedia just listed as PS3, no PS4 release. So,
Huh. Well, how about that? Maybe it was Yakuza 0 that was on PS3 and PS4 and it only came out on the PS4 here. So, oh,
PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3. PlayStation 3 in Japan and PlayStation 4 in Japan and the Western world or whatever.
okay, so it was Yakuza 0 I was thinking of that was on the PS3 and the PS4, but only the PS4 here. Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, you're right. Yakuza 5 was only so 3, 4, and 5 in America anywhere, PS3 only, so ports to the PS4. Um, sure, I've already played them though, so I won't be buying them, but unless they add like a lot of content or something, uh, then I might because they're like the best games ever. So, oh,
Yeah.
interestingly, do I have a PS4 controller? Yeah. Yakuza 6 is what I'm playing right now. Actually makes interesting use of this little touchpad here, which
Really?
is stupid and useless. But the batting cages mini game.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, you just smack the button when the ball comes by.
Yeah.
Some games have the strike zone and you move a little cursor around the strike zone to where the ball is going to be and you hit the button, and that's how this works. But you can also use the touchpad to move your cursor around the strike zone with your finger, and then when you release, Kiryu swings the bat, and it actually works really really well. You just
Nice.
you move to where you want and then swing,
Yeah.
and it works surprisingly well. So good on the developers for finding an interesting and genuinely good. I've tried it both ways, and I think I prefer the touchpad
Yeah.
controls
See,
for the
I
way
still
this game is set
remember
up.
this game's touchpad, the Ouya, and I have an Ouya controller. I keep it by my computer because every once in a while I use it. But yeah, not very many games actually took advantage of the touchpad, but the best one was Saturday Morning RPG, and they use the touchpad. It's like right before you start a battle, you can do a scratch and sniff on your, like you can put scratch and sniff stickers on your trapper keeper, and then before battle you can scratch them, and if you scratch them all, you get buffs for the ensuing battle, and it was a very useful feature, a really fun way of doing that. But that was the best use of the touchpad on the Ouya controller that I saw. But I'm sure there might have been other ones, but yeah, probably not any good games.
Yeah. So all the various companies are saying, "Hey, E3, we're going to be there and we're going to have games." And Nintendo said, "Yeah, so are we." And Sony said, "Yeah, us too." And Microsoft, and so everyone's going to have games at E3. So, yay.
Okay.
Yep. That was
Yeah.
the news. Uh, Kimishima has served as temporary or interim position as a Nintendo president for a couple of years since Iwata passed away,
Yep.
and they named a new dude to be the president. So there's that news.
Yep. Who did they name? I didn't even bother to
I
look it up.
I could look it up. I forget his name, but I did read their financial report, and the thing that stuck out the most to me is
Mhm.
in the middle of their financial report they list the members of the board, which
Yeah.
includes Kimishima, Miyamoto, a bunch of names that you would probably recognize, even if you couldn't immediately identify what their job is. But what I found interesting is right under the header, before they get to the graph that lists the people on the board and what their jobs are and what they do, and actually
Yeah.
their employment history. It's let me pull it up real quick because I
Okay.
found it really.
The new president is Shantaro I don't know how to say his name. Furu Kawa. Um,
Furukawa.
okay. But yeah, I don't know who that is. So
He's a guy who knows his stuff.
he joined back in '94, so he's been with the company for over 20 years. So, at least he says, and has spent the bulk of his time overseeing the console maker's global marketing division. So he's a marketing guy, which I guess could be useful as
Mm-hmm.
in the president role.
Yeah, I don't know him from Adam, but yeah, I'm sure he'll do just fine. Okay, so in their financial report, their yearly financial report, it says in section 4, members of the board of directors. One sentence is written here right before they get to the table that lists Tatsumi Kimishima, Shigeru Miyamoto, Shinya Takahashi, and Shintaro Furukawa. All these people. It says 9 male directors and 0 female director. Parentheses percentage of females colon 0% end parentheses. I would have to go back and actually look at previous financial reports. I just found it really interesting that that's not a footnote. That's right at the top
Yeah.
before they start listing the board of directors, and that's an interesting note to make. It's like we have 9 board of directors, and they're all dudes. I I have to wonder if that's a hint that they're forward thinking. It's like we would like to get more women here on the board of directors because it's a sausage fest up in here.
Yeah.
All
Maybe.
good guys who do their jobs really really well, but we looked around and we noticed hey, you know what? The board of directors of Nintendo are exclusively male. And honestly, had they not written that sentence, I'll admit I probably would not have noticed had I just read the list. It probably would
Yeah.
not have stood out to me. So, um, whatever their intentions, I'm comfortable saying kudos to whoever wrote up that report and pointing that out because I think that's important. So good on them.
Yeah. That is really honest of them. For first off, they're explicitly pointing that out, and
Yeah,
so
I just love the fact that it says 9 male directors and 0 female directors, but it goes further to say
yeah,
parentheses percentage of females 0%.
yeah, I love that. That's a lot of fun, but a little redundant. But
Yeah,
yeah,
let me just for fun, let me copy that and paste it into this chat so you can all see what I'm talking about because it's kind of interesting.
yeah.
So there you go.
You would wonder. It's like, what would they have put if it was like 8 male directors and 1 female director? Would they have gone with the percentage of females? What is that? 11 point something percent or 12 point? Yeah, 11.
9, it's around, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah, would they have
I
put
don't
that?
know. I don't know.
Yeah.
If I, if I think about it, maybe I'll pull back some of the previous financial reports and see if I can find. Well, actually, I can do that now. So Keep our audience company.
Okay.
What's going on in your life?
Oh, let's see. What have I been doing this week? Okay, so last week I mentioned that I was doing Ludum Dare and making a fishing tower defense game, and unfortunately, I didn't get that done in time to in time for Monday. My I woke up on Sunday and was just went to church and then came home and was just kind of out of it, just drained, and I ended up napping for like 3 hours and then Monday I had to work, so I didn't get to work on it too much at all last week. Unfortunately, I did get I got it to where the fish swim down the river. I got it to where you can place your fishermen onto the map. They have their little um, range indicator where you can see where they can cast their line and then and that's as far as I got right now. And yeah, I do want to finish it because the even though I wasn't all that interested in mashing up two incompatible genres, which was the theme for Ludum Dare, once I started working on that, I was like, you know what, this is actually kind of a neat idea and I want to see it fleshed out. So yeah, I'm going to work on it. Unfortunately, I haven't done any good for my Patreon, my one game a month Patreon. But if I can get this done for the month of May, that will be awesome. And then I plan on just picking up from there and continuing on through the rest of the year. Because, but yeah, I've just been getting lots of ideas coming through about how to make this game a lot of fun, and so hopefully it works out. And yeah, and it's also starting getting my juices, my brain juices going, because one of the game ideas that I've had for a while is just to make an actual fishing game, and you know. Because I've been playing Stardew Valley and it has fishing in it, and Breath of Fire, that RPG has fishing in it, and I always loved doing the fishing in that. And so I think I would actually enjoy making a fishing game because I do like those fishing mini games, and so that's it's one of my goals. So maybe I'll do that one for the month of June, or at least say a small version of it. I would like to make a huge, massive fishing RPG type game, but we'll see how that. We'll see where the get the fishing part done, and then go from there and see how that works out. But yeah, that's been my week.
Cool. Speaking of Patreon, someone kicked me a little bit of cash on PayPal earlier this week, and when you do that, there's really no way for me to thank you personally. So thank you publicly. I'm not going to reveal your name because I don't know if you want me to do that or not, but thank you. I appreciate it. I assume that's because you enjoy the stuff I do. So hopefully, I mean, because if you gave me some money to say here, shut up. I didn't get the message. So I looked back at the Nintendo's financial reports all the way back to 2014, and this is the first year that line is included.
Interesting.
So back in 2013, they didn't have the members of the board of directors listed in the report, unless I'm completely overlooking it, which is possible because I'm skimming. But pointing out the gender ratio of the board of directors is new for this year, so far as I can see. So interesting.
That's cool. So Scotty J Man says the fishing in Breath of the Wild is rubbish, and then Brian Gillis says Breath of Fire, not Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, the Breath of the Wild of fishing is rubbish because you just, although it is kind of amazing in a way. How you catch fish in Zelda Breath of the Wild is exactly how you pick crap up off the ground. You walk over to it and you hit the A button when prompted. For fish, you just jump in the water, you paddle over to the fish, and you hit the A button to take the fish.
Oh, that is rubbish.
It's actually kind of hilarious.
Yeah,
It
because yeah, because when I think of a fishing game, a fishing mini game, you're using a fishing pole.
yeah.
Because in Breath of Fire, so Breath of Fire 1 and 2 were both side view, where you're up on the top left and you see the pool that you're fishing in and all the fish in it, and you just cast your line out. The better rod, the further you can cast. You got different lures and bait that you can use to attract different fish. Breath of Fire 3 is a top view where you can't see the fish, but you can see little shadows of the fish out in the water. And it's the same concept where you can, the better rod further out, you can cast different bait and all that. But Breath of Fire 3 introduced what they called techniques. I think that's what they called it. But you basically it's how you move your lure in the water has a different, can attract different fish, and then Breath of Fire 4 changed it up where Breath of Fire 3 was just a static. You're always in the same spot and you just cast out. But in Breath of Fire 4, you go in to a fishing area. It's like a little mini dungeon, but you can walk around the whole thing and cast in different places. Different fish will, if you're in a little river and there's a waterfall, different fish are going to hang out by the waterfall, then hang out further away from the waterfall in like the little tide pool area. And so that one was just really cool. And that's kind of what I would like to see, because Stardew Valley is like that. You can fish anywhere there's water in Stardew Valley, and different areas have different fish, and different seasons have different fish, and different fish show up if it's raining or nighttime or morning, and it's very in depth for the type of game it is. But so it's kind of I like the side view one myself. Mostly just for nostalgia's sake, but yeah, a lot of cool fishing mini games out there.
Sega had a pretty good arcadey take on fishing. Sega Bass Pro Fishing or something like that.
That's one of the things I've never actually played a dedicated fishing game in the past, though. So
that's true. All my fishing games are mini games and other games.
Yeah.
Some of our chat is pointing out that you can also kill fish. You can chuck bombs in the water, and the fish that are caught in the radius will float to the top, and then you can go grab them. I think you can hit them with arrows and stuff too. You can. There's really no point to it because fish don't really seem to care that you're there. So it's not like, I mean, maybe there are some fish that I haven't noticed that will run if you swim next to them, but typically it's just paddle over and grab them.
Well, maybe there's a secret angler fish from Link's Awakening, or the Game Boy one where you fought that big anglerfish in Dungeon 4, I think it was. Maybe maybe that's a secret in Breath of the Wild that nobody's found yet.
I just like the fact that Link's pockets are full of dead fish and lizards and raw meat and stuff.
Yeah. Where does he keep all that stuff when he's running around in just his shorts?
So, Brian says some types of fish do run away. Besides, a bomb is just more fun. Fair enough. Oh, and if I can brag, I totally caught the Hylian Loach in Ocarina of Time. Yes,
nice.
So, all right, let us move to topics. And first topic, I think, since I just happen to have it open right here, is UPS had a. Let me try and share it. Sharing is caring. I lost it. There it is. I think. Did I share correctly? Yes.
Yep. See the tweet.
Yeah, and play. I don't know if the sound is coming through at all, but so the UPS store shared this video on its Twitter, saying that we have That may be too loud. It's only a minute, though. I apologize.
Yeah, I can't really hear anything. So
Oh, you can't? Okay.
yeah,
Well, it's really loud in my ears.
I think I can kind of hear it in the background, but it's probably more it's coming out your speaker, and your mic is picking it up a little bit. But
Yeah. So they have a Labo carrying case made out of UPS boxes. That's
that is
amazing.
just that is just awesome. And
It's so super cool, and they're totally not selling that.
it's just
It's
something they
just neat.
created for that video, and then, yeah, it is just super neat and very creative. I like how how they show all them cutting out pieces and
Yeah.
putting it together, and then sticking all the Labo parts in it.
It's
They
like
even have a little compartment for the rubber bands and strings,
it's like
and
no, seriously, do that. You should
release
totally
that
do that.
release that template out for
Yeah.
everybody.
Hell, sell that. People would buy that if you read that Twitter uh
Yeah, the
all the replies,
responses.
people are like, I want that. And they're playing, oh, maybe someday, but it's clearly just something that, and I have a feeling that parts of it are kind of faked, that it's not actually a real product. Um, that the whole thing was built in lots of different pieces and filmed from the right angles to make it neat and stuff. But man, if you can figure that out, do it and sell it, because that's super cool. And
Yeah,
actually, it'd be really handy to put all that fragile cardboard stuff in an actual box that
that
you can
is
go put
designed to
somewhere
hold it. Yeah,
that the cat isn't going to pee on, or your kid isn't going to sit on. I was really impressed. So
yeah,
I also snarked on Twitter, because we've seen a bunch of people coming up with their own Labo stuff,
yeah.
and I said, and sharing, here's what the neat thing I made with Labo. And so I snarked on Twitter. I said, I predict that Nintendo will issue a copyright claim on some poor sod's
Labo
Nintendo
creation.
Labo creation.
Yeah,
Nintendo. Oh no, copyright. I hope not, because that would be a terrible
yeah.
thing.
That would be terrible. You gotta wonder how they would handle something like that. Like because Nintendo's got their dumb little Nintendo partner YouTube thing or whatever they call it, and you gotta wonder how they would handle that with Nintendo with the Labo content because
Play, discover, create, but don't you dare share that or show anybody, or
yeah,
we'll sue you.
because it's like you know most of the videos I've seen are videos taken like a wide view or from like a GoPro style view where it's like so they've got the creation on the table in front of them and they're holding the screen or they've got the screen on the whatever device it or cardboard creation it's supposed to be on and whatever yeah and then there's the ones where they're playing with the stupid robot thing and that's just a big living room size picture. It's kind of hard to make a copyright claim or a content ID claim on a video like that because there's just really no way to see that that is specifically a Labo thing. But but yeah, hopefully Nintendo doesn't decide to go on a copyright DMCA or content ID spree on Labo content. But
Yeah. So, I'm trying to scroll to the right place for our next story, which is Campo Santo, who is the company behind
Firewatch.
Firewatch and the upcoming In the Valley of the Gods, where there's two people who are in a valley that is of gods, and they I don't know, watch the sunrise. It really wasn't clear what you're doing in this game from the preview, but it had a neat style to it. Anyway, Campo Santo is now owned by Valve, which I, I'm not sure about this. I mean, you can kind of take this in several ways. The extremes being, hey, maybe we'll actually see some games from Valve now, because we haven't seen much from them since Portal 2 back in 2011. I mean,
Yeah, it's been a
there was
while.
Counter-Strike Go the following year, Dota 2 the year after that, and there've been a couple other small things like the lab, which was that Vive virtual reality thing,
Yeah.
but that's about it. So it's like, well, hey, they have a developer that actually makes games now. But the more cynical extreme end of that is Campo Santo, once they release in the Valley of Gods, they're going to be working on just whatever the hell Valve does and not work on any video games.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah,
Brian says, and they will never release a game again. Yeah, that's kind of the concern.
yeah, because
Valve's
they
tendency to not release games will rub off on them.
yeah, because Valve bought the Portal developer, and they released Portal, and then later on Portal 2, but they haven't. I don't know what's come of that developer in the time since. But yeah, my first thought when I heard about the Valve buying Campo Santo was maybe Valve will actually teach them to respect fair use and not abuse the DMCA process, because that was something they did a while back when PewDiePie people started noticing that PewDiePie used bad language, racial slurs in his videos, and then Campo Santo was like, okay, we're going to DMCA all of his videos that have Firewatch in it. I'm like, that's not how the DMCA is supposed to work. It's abusing the DMCA.
Yeah, it's like I appreciate the sentiment and I get where you're coming from. Right job, wrong tool, right? So,
yeah.
and to Campo Santo's credit, they, if I'm remembering correctly, and I hope I am, they did go on record and saying, okay, yeah, you're right. That was the wrong thing to do. So, if I'm remembering that correctly, then
I don't know. I just remember that, and I don't know much after that what they did. But yeah, we'll see what comes of this. This Valley of the Gods or whatever it is looks interesting without any idea of what the gameplay actually is. But
yeah, I mean, the style is. I mean, I like the aesthetic, but I can't say I'm excited for it because I have no idea what the game is.
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of like they just released the trailer for Tomb Raider 3 or Shadow of the Tomb Raider, whatever it's called, and it's just Laura wandering around murdering people. It's like, okay, but call me old fashioned, but I always liked Tomb Raider for the, tomb rating. Yeah, the rating of tombs. I've always thought the combat was the weakest, or not weak, because it's well constructed, but I've always felt that the combat was my least favorite part of the game. It was unnecessary. I mean, I didn't mind it so much in some of the games where, occasionally a wild cat will try and bite you in the face, or a giant T-Rex or something. I don't mind that there is combat, but lately the last they've been getting, they're turning it into like Gears of War, it's like, there's all these guys and you got to murder them.
Far Cry or
the better example, Far Cry, things like that.
Because that was one of the problems. As much as I enjoyed Uncharted and its story and stuff, the combat was just totally weak, and it's that part. I know that the combat improved in 2 and 3, but it's just the bad taste from the combat in the first one. Just has made it to where I haven't really had a whole lot of interest in picking up the other two.
Are we talking about
playing them? Uncharted. The Uncharted series, Drake's Fortune and stuff.
Yeah.
But but the Tomb Raider ones, I don't know if I've ever actually played a Tomb Raider game.
Yeah, I like exploring the environments and finding the secrets and solving puzzles and doing all the acrobatic crap. Although it did kind of work it actually flat out worked in Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, because the fighting combat thing was very similar to the way the titular prince moved and flipped and swung and jumped around to navigate the environment. He did the same thing in his fighting style, so fighting was almost that same sort of acrobatic expression, and I thought it worked really well. In the Tomb Raider games and Uncharted, it's like mode 1, mode 2.
Yeah.
Now we jump around and explore the environment. Now we shoot the dudes. And
Yeah.
I have to admit, usually when it's shoot the dudes time, I do this. Okay,
That's how
just
I felt every
everybody die so I can get back to exploring and climbing on stuff.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean,
And
you do need stuff to mix up the whole explore and climb stuff. I'm not saying there should be
yeah.
no combat or nothing to break up the exploration and climby bits, but
Yeah. Well, and
I think
there
they're
was
going a bit too full bore on the combat for my
because
tasting.
going back a ways to Indiana Jones and the Lost City of Atlantis.
Mhm.
The adventure game from LucasArts.
Yeah.
And that game did it pretty well. And of course the combat wasn't an integral part.
It was an adventure game. The combat was terrible, but
The combat was terrible, yes. But
but
the thing is like you had at one point there was this choice where it's like you could say, "Oh, I can punch my way out of any problem," and the other option was, "Oh, I can think my way out of any to every solution," or something like that. And that determined if you fought more bad guys or if you just solved more puzzles. And and there were still bad guys to fight and puzzles to solve in either one, but there was more of one in each of them, and it took you to different locations and stuff. That was really cool. But the thing with the fighting in there was every once in a while you'll get up, go against it was always one-on-one, so you're never fighting like hordes of enemies, but every once in a while you get up against some guy that was just impossible to actually beat. But most of the time the bad guys were like, just hit the sucker punch button and you're done. But every once in a while, some of the guys were just, you couldn't actually fight, and you actually had to solve a puzzle to get around them. And it's like one guy you knocked a boulder loose and it rolled down and crushed him, and another guy you had to activate some giant robot machine thing, and that machine walked over and trampled the guy. It was hilarious. I love that part. But yeah, it was it was a lot of fun that way. But yeah, that's the kind of game that I would like to see Tomb Raider and Uncharted be more of. Not a 2D adventure game, but more, lots of thought into the puzzles and solving, the big mystery of whatever it is you're exploring.
I'd really like if the combat and exploration elements were integrated a bit better. I believe I would prefer it if they didn't feel like two completely different games.
Exactly.
Prince of Persia, I think, did that really well. It made the combat and the exploration feel like the same game. Uncharted and Tomb Raider feels like two different games fighting for the same.
Yeah, because with Uncharted, you're exploring things, you're trying to open up doors and get to a specific place, and you have to find the right path and everything. And then the fighting is just a crappy cover shooter, and it's just it was terrible. And then you had the whole multiple waves of enemies, and that was so frustrating. Like, I just killed a dozen guys. Well, here's another dozen guys, and now all your ammo is depleted. Oh, you managed to survive that? Well, here's another dozen guys.
Yeah, it's absurd. To be fair, Uncharted 2 does the combat a lot, but significantly better, leagues better than the first game. I've said this before, but I was when I played Uncharted, I was genuinely surprised that game got a sequel, because it's bad. Not that there's nothing good in the game. The exploration, when the controls work and Drake jumps in the correct Nathan Drake. Okay, that was correct. Jumps in the actual direction you're pointing is a lot of fun. The combat is genuinely terrible, and it brings down the game.
And it's
Uncharted 2 is pretty darn good, though.
I think it was mostly the story and the exploration aspect that endeared people to it and made them willing to suffer through the combat in order to finish the game. But apparently the newest Tomb Raider games have been fairly successful. People have been enjoying them.
Oh yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the Tomb Raider reboot. I don't know. It's just called Tomb Raider. I really enjoyed it, even though it focused, for my money, it focused a bit too heavily on the combat and not enough on the actual tomb raiding, of which there is some, but it's focused way more on combat than I personally prefer. Haven't played Rise of the Tomb Raider yet. Still keeping my eye on it, waiting for it to drop in sale. Now that the complete edition is available for a decent price, I'm just waiting to buy it. Because we just learned that Square Enix is going to sell Shadow of the Tomb Raider next September, I believe, incomplete.
Yeah.
They're still charging $60 with it, but if you want the entire game, you're going to have to fork more money for DLC, season pass stuff, or you can do what I do and wait a year for the inevitable complete edition to come out for less money. So that's what I'll do, because I have plenty of games over there.
4 or 5 years and buy it when it's $20. And
yeah. Well, hi, person in the chat whose name and comment I can't read at all. Okay, next topic.
Sorry,
what do we have next? Okay, so here's an interesting one. Let's talk about lawsuits. Quantic Dream, who has the Detroit game Become Human.
Yeah, Detroit.
That's coming out pretty soon. They did the one with Ellen Page, I forget what, Two Souls or something like that. Fahrenheit 4, Indigo Prophecy, or Fahrenheit, and Jason, the Jason game, the game where you call Jason. Heavy Rain, that's what it's called. So a couple of months ago, there were some publications, news organizations that published allegations of improper workplace stuff.
Sexism, racism, extended
misogyny,
crunch,
that kind of thing. And Quantic Dream is suing these companies. Two of the three, I think, who published these reports are being sued. One of the things I found kind of weird about this is one of the news organizations actually published pictures that were allegedly distributed. Here's the accusation. So someone at Quantic Dream photoshopped Quantic Dream employees' faces on nude bodies and Nazi uniform bodies, and apparently distributed them. So imagine coming to work and seeing your head on a naked body, or on a
on a Nazi
body or something like that. And they actually published those pictures in the article, but but Quantic Dream didn't actually sue that specific publication, which I thought was kind of weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
So the publications are standing by their reporting, and they'll have to show that they actually reported in good faith to the courts. I don't have much of an opinion on this as far as was there really something improper going on at Quantic Dream? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah. According to the reports, they actually talked to people who work there, and it was. But something that actually lends credence to these accusations was Quantic Dream, and specifically David Cage's response to the allegations, because he basically said, "I can't be homophobic or racist because I have gay and black friends." I'm like, "Oh, David. Dude, no, David, no.
That's not the proper response.
No. Typically, generalizing, of course, but pretty much if you make that kind of comment, you're probably racist.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find the direct quote, because it was just...
But this was just a really weird story too, because and it's just... And they're being sued in France because Quantic is based in France. Yes. The journalists are based in France, so they're suing in France, and France doesn't have the same sort of press rights as the U.S. does.
Yeah,
So,
I have no idea what
and
libel laws are in France
yeah,
would even be.
well, you know, like
Even if that's the type of case that they're
yeah,
bringing, I don't
France
know.
doesn't have an equivalent to the First Amendment type of protections for journalists. So it's a lot easier to sue journalists in France. Like here in the U.S., unless somebody can make a strong libel claim against the press, there's pretty much nothing you can do about it.
Mhm.
Unless you're Hulk Hogan and you're suing Gawker, but yeah, that one was a crazy case too, and but,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so you found that quote?
Yeah, so Cage said, do we want to talk about homophobia? We work with Ellen Page, who is fighting for LGBT rights. Do we want to talk about racism? We are working with Jesse Williams, who is fighting for civil rights in the United States. Judge me by my work, or judge my work, he says. And it's like, oh, dude, you just, please tell me you realize you just said, I can't be racist. My best friend is black. That's
Yeah,
no, no.
yeah,
So, you know, ha with him saying that, I'm more inclined to believe the allegations, because that
yeah.
to me that's something a racist would say. But we'll see
Yeah,
what
it's
happens.
definitely in bad form. A lot of
Yeah.
people might not think that is a racist or sexist or anything, but it and
In and of
in
itself,
and of
no.
itself, it could it's perfectly innocent, but yeah, that's a
But it's
lot of times
certainly
that's the
not logically
defense of
sound.
yeah, it's not, and it's often used as a defense when somebody actually says something racist or
Hmm.
says something sexist. We're like, I can't be because because I have a black friend or whatever. Yeah, it's just yeah. Oh, yeah.
So moving on to another interesting lawsuit. Tell us about the what Epic Games has got cooking.
Okay, so yeah, so Epic has filed a lawsuit against a 14-year-old boy, and this the lawsuit was filed a while ago. I forget last year. Okay, so last year the proceedings in court had begun, and they Epic had banned thousands of cheaters from Fortnite, but they specifically filed a lawsuit against this kid because he had produced several videos, and they say that their filing says that the 14-year-old boy operated two YouTube channels where he actively promotes, distributes, and induces others to use cheat software. So I guess he was showing people how to install the mods and stuff in order to cheat and whatever. Yeah, don't really know, but because of the kid's age, um, and the court calls the kid CR because he's a minor. They don't want to publish his actual
Right.
name, but the kid's parents filed uh, a letter with the court, and the court is basically using this letter as uh, as an intent to have the case dropped. Um, I forget what the dismissed. Have the case dismissed. Where
Hmm.
she writes a letter. She says, "It is my belief that due to their lack of ability to curve cheat codes, and this is the mother talking, and others from modifying their game, they are using a 14-year-old child as a scapegoat to make an example of him."
Yeah. In other words, it's not my son's fault. You suck at security. It's not
Pretty
my
much,
son's
yeah.
fault. Your game's easy to exploit.
Yeah, that's just one of the things, and the whole letter, like he has she makes multiple cases, one specifically about the fact that he's under 18 and he can't be this isn't an improper lawsuit because of the kid's age. He says that use of software applications is available only to persons who can enter into legally binding contracts under applicable law. If you're a minor under the age of 18, you're not competent or otherwise do not have the capacity to enter into a legally binding contract. So basically, she's saying that because he was under 18, he couldn't have legally agreed to the EULA that Epic requires before playing Fortnite. So that's one of the reasons they need to drop that.
Plus, the legal bounds of an EULA are hotly contested anyway,
Yeah.
regardless of how old the person.
Yeah, because and they go on saying that that they didn't give parental consent, and she specifically mentions and she underlines this that parental consent was not issued to Caleb Rogers. The parent, I don't know why the mom published his name, but
dude, you just doxed your son.
To play this free game produced by Epic Games, it's a free game. She emphasizes there, and Epic is claiming profit loss, and their attorneys would need to provide a profit and loss statement to prove that his live streaming and playing their game caused massive profit loss, and she says this is feasibly impossible, and so and that's a good point. I think is that it is very hard to. I
see a hand reaching for you.
Yeah. My son, he decided to join the podcast.
What is that? A Labo car?
No, he's got a little cheapy tank transformer. But yeah, with the same thing with piracy, cheating in a video game and telling other people how to cheat in a video game. It's very hard to prove and to document an actual loss in profit and income because of that, and just so some good points. But Epic has responded to this and basically trying to get out of this. And unfortunately, I don't have a copy of the actual. Epic's filing here.
Yeah, the article I read just mentioned that Epic responded to all the points, but I didn't see the response.
Okay, I just found it. It's the other link. The link says courtesy of Torrent Freak, so it doesn't actually look like an actual thing. But yeah, they says that. CR created at least 14 user accounts, and each time affirmatively acknowledged acceptance of the term. So they're saying because he created so many accounts and
Innovator, he knew he was doing something.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing. Yeah, it says the terms include an intellectual property rights section that sets forth permissions users have with respect to Epic's intellectual property and activities which are prohibited, and going on to saying that the cheating is basically violating the copying, modifying, creating derivative works of, publicly displaying, publicly performing, republishing, transmitting any material, and all that, which is kind of an interesting thing to say, because they're basically saying that anybody that creates a video of their game is technically violating their copyright, and that's kind of a pretty bold statement to make. Do you see yourself in there? Yeah. He's looking at himself in the little camera view. But yeah, so Epic has responded and is basically saying that no, we're going to continue on with this lawsuit.
I guess the argument is our loss comes from the manpower used to constantly ban him making new accounts.
I guess. I don't know. We'll see how that works out.
Yeah, I'm not completely clear on what exactly it is that this kid did. I mean, he cheated somehow. Did he make some type of third party application to
I don't
cheat in
know.
the game and film himself on Twitch doing it?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he. It's not clear if he actually made the cheating mods or if he just found them
Yeah.
and then produced videos showing him using them and showing other people how to use them. But it's at least clear that he did produce videos showing him cheating and showing others how to cheat. It's just not clear if he created the cheating software or if he just found it somewhere. So.
Yeah.
But
All
you would
right.
think if that was their problem, they would, if he didn't actually create the software, you would think they would go after the people who did create the software if they could track him down.
Yeah.
But if he didn't create it and they're suing him, it's probably because they can't find the people who made the software, which is still kind of bad. It's really he streamed himself cheating. As far as I know, he didn't come up with anything, says Brian, which sounds about right. So
Mhm.
if that's the case, his mother's right. Epic is just doing this out of spite, and they're just doing it to make an example of this kid, which is really bad form. And I have a I don't know a whole lot about legal proceedings or anything, but I think it's probably highly likely the judge will side with the mother and say this isn't really a proper lawsuit because the kid's a minor.
Yeah. We're very sorry that
That a
Susan
14-year
over
old.
in her cubicle has to ban him every time he makes an account, but
Yeah.
them's the breaks.
Yeah, we'll see how this comes along. It's like I said, this case has been going on for a year, so it might be a few more months before we find out anything about this specific motion to dismiss, which is
Mhm.
what the judge has interpreted the letter as.
Yeah.
Um,
So, next topic is the CIA has, in a way, started making video games.
well, board games more like it, but yeah.
Oh, well, that's true. It's a card game. It's an actual physical card game, right?
Yeah, well, so last year at South by Southwest, the CIA had some kind of presentation there where they talked about how they used games to train their agents, and in response to that, let's see, Muckrock, Mitchell Kotler, with in who works with Muckrock, and another entrepreneur, Douglas Palmer, decided to send in a FOIA request for all these games that they talked about in their in their presentation. And just a few weeks ago, they Muckrock published the documents that they received, and these documents had several games in there, and several of their training games in there, and Techdirt had looked at these games, and they found one that they thought was kind of a really cool idea. The game they let's see, the CIA called it. Oh goodness, what was their? Now I can't remember what the name of the game was. But they produced a game, uh, and so Techdirt was just like, huh, this one actually looks kind of fun, and so they took the rules and the pick, everything that came with the FOIA request and partnered up with um, uh, Diegetic Games, and which is a card game company, a tabletop game company that they know and worked with in the past, and they decided to make an actual card game that you can play, and they published it onto Kickstarter. And it's called CIA Collect It All, and and the game actually looks kind of fun to play. And when the FOIA request came out, I was just like, that would actually be kind of neat to actually uh, put this game together and actually be able to play it with other people. And Techdirt had the same idea, And so they put the Kickstarter out with a $30,000 goal, and they said that within 48 hours they had reached that goal already, and they're at $46,000 raised so far. And
I
so,
put the Kickstarter link in the chat if anyone wants to check.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely worth checking out. And I think it's a really neat idea. And because works created by the government aren't subject to copyright, the games that the CIA produced are in the public domain, and anybody is able to take what the CIA produced and either reproduce it verbatim or build upon it, like Techdirt and Diegetic Games has done, and make something a little bit what they feel is a little bit better and a little more fun. So, yeah.
And the CIA can't do a thing about it.
Yeah, except bug their phones and
okay, sure.
and kidnap them and ship them off to a black site to be tortured.
There you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the U.S. Copyright Act stipulates that works of the federal government are not subject to copyright. They're in the public domain. So
works, but just to clarify, work for hire. So like if the government hires a contractor to produce something, that contractor would have a copyright on that but anything created specifically by the government is in the public domain.
Right.
Polybius.
Polybius. That arcade game that everyone remembers, but no one can find evidence of it ever existing. It's the Ghost arcade game. It's one of those urban legends. I don't know if it was an urban legend that was like just made up this year, because it's the first time I'd ever heard of it. But
yeah. So,
no, I have someone in the chat whose name I can't read enjoys my Monster Hunter videos. Well, you are one of, I think, 36 people who actually watched those. So I'm very glad you did.
I've watched about a third to a half of them. Just mostly the ones that have an interesting looking monster that I want to see.
Well, yeah.
For the most part, I'm not that interested in playing Monster Hunter, just because they don't have local co-op. It
does.
The last, because there was the one that came out on the Wii, and it had local co-op, but it was only in the arena. Like, it was only an arena co-op, and it wasn't the actual campaign. So that was
actually don't even remember that mode. But you can kind of do local co-op, technically, I suppose, with the 3DS versions. Well, it's not local because you need two different 3DSs, but you can sit right next to each other.
If you had two PS3s or two PS4s and
televisions,
TVs, you could play. You could sit next to each other. You would still need to have an internet connection and connect to a Sega server or Capcom servers and everything. But I'm not that kind of a family. Sorry. I get one of each system. That's all I get. And if it doesn't have local co-op, then I'm likely to skip it, at least when it comes to a family game. And Monster Hunter is just one of those games, and I'm just like, that would be a lot of fun to play with my wife or play with my kids. But I can't because it's not local co-op.
Yeah, I guess it would have to do split screen if it were local co-op.
Yeah, it would have to be, yeah. But,
ow. Because, man, that would be awkward if I'm not even sure how you would do a single camera co-op version of that game. You'd have to have a very smart camera. Cameras aren't smart, so.
Yeah.
All right. So, that's the show.
Yeah.
Hope y'all enjoyed.
A little over an hour, but
I need to eat. I'm starving to death. So let's plug our stuff and get out of here. Andrew Eisen here. Eisen is how you spell the last name. Plug it into YouTube, and you can find my popular videos and my less than popular videos. What's funny is the videos that are popular remain popular. Like I did a video on Terra and the absurd way that Frogster and whatever the other company was decided to censor it to address a problem that wasn't actually a problem because the game wasn't even
Yeah.
out yet when they decided to address a problem. So, this video is like 6 years old. I still get comments on it, and it's interesting because some of the comments are seem to the commenters seem to be under the impression that this is a brand new video, not a video that's like 6 years old.
Yeah.
Um, which is not a problem. I mean, I don't always look at the date on a video, but the video I did with the bugs that I found in or some of the bugs that I found in one of the Lego games, that's an evergreen video of mine. But yeah, unfortunately, although some of my debut reviews are getting into the several. Typically, they were like 100, 200 views. I have a couple of them that are up in 7, 8, 900 views, but it seems to be specific to a particular show that I'm watching.
Yeah.
So I guess it's some people are probably looking for a particular show and happen to be coming across my debut review video. So anyway, speaking of which, I have a debut review for some harem anime, the name of which escapes me. I'll probably try and edit that tonight and have that out tomorrow. I just did a debut review for the new Agretsuko, which is pretty fun. I'll have that at some point. And I'm also going to do a debut review for the first episode of BoJack Horseman, because it's a show I keep hearing people talk about, and I don't really find the art style appealing, but everyone keeps saying how great it is. So, all right, I'll give the first episode a try and see what I think. The next Leslie and Bob video, I'm probably gonna take some time to figure out what I want to do with that, because the new monster is a siege quest. I talked about this in the front of the show, but the monster is meant to be played with a party of 16 people, not one person, which is the only way I can do it because I don't have PlayStation Plus. So I'm not sure if I should make that like a montage, or I can't just put 3 hours of video together as I slowly beat this monster to death. That would be really, really boring. I actually recorded about 20 minutes of it today, and I was just smacking this thing in the ass for 20 minutes. And it didn't seem to notice. I'm like, oh, this is gonna take a while. So that'll come out sometime in the future. I do have some scripted videos in various states of completion. I just haven't completed them. So we'll see what happens with those. Anyway, follow me on Twitter at Andrew Eisen. I say silly things.
All right.
Zachary, plug away.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter, where I talk about video gaming and politics and other things. That's Easy Night. And if you're interested in my game development work, where I'm actually making a game right now, I started at Ludum Dare, and then I didn't get a chance to finish it for the contest. But I'm going to keep plugging away and getting this idea out and see how much fun it is. Right now, the working title is Tower Fishing. I'll probably change that up, but you can follow that at DK_gaming, and DivineKnightGaming.com is where you can, once it's actually finished, I'll put it there and have links to itch.io for it and everything. And if you're interested in the Oklahoma game development scene, there's a lot of cool stuff happening right now, actually, and I need to start writing about it again. But it's OK Game Devs on Twitter and okgamedev.com. So there you go.
And we both have Patreons. If you're a Patreon, that's what it's called. Patreon accounts if you are so inclined. I'm especially...
Yeah, mine's Easy Night, and where I'm making one game a month, or that's my plan, anyways. And
good night, Brian. Thanks for staying up.
Yeah.
Brian's on the other side of the world, so it's very, very late. Anyway, thank you to my Patreon's Andrew Eisen, and I'm very appreciative of the people who support me there, because my MCN just dropped me, or like a month or two ago. as they are many people. So I make even less on YouTube advertising revenue. I used to make like $12 to $15 a month on an average. Occasionally, it'd push into the $20. Once I made like $28 in a month.
Wow, nice.
Now I'm making like $2 to $4 a month. Plus, since I have to use Google AdSense, I believe, unless they've changed it over the years, which I haven't
Yeah.
checked, but the way it works is they only pay
They only pay out if you get 100.
right. They only pay quarterly. See, my multi-channel network that I used to belong to paid every month the balance of your account. So however much you made, $12, $15, whatever, they paid that at the end of every month. Google AdSense pays you every quarter, so every 3 months, but only if your balance is $100 minimum.
Yeah.
Which means
I have like 40 something bucks sitting in my Google AdSense account.
Yeah, which means that I probably won't see any advertising revenue in my actual pocket for like 2.5 years. So,
yeah.
Yes, AM Gamer, this is live, but we're
only for a couple more minutes.
So, but the fun thing is that while I don't have a ton of people supporting me on Patreon, I have like 7 or 8 people. I'm still making more per month on Patreon with the people who support me there than I have at any single month in my entire like 7 or 8 year history on YouTube. I make like $30 a month on Patreon, and the most I've ever made in a single month in YouTube is I think like 28 something. So nice. Thank you, lovely patrons, and to the person who randomly I gave me some money on PayPal. I appreciate that. So yeah, there are people out there who want to give me money. It always strikes me as odd, but I'm definitely appreciative of it, especially when my rent goes up and when cost of living starts outpacing your salary.
Yeah, that's never fun.
Oh, it sucks, but that's okay. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching the show tonight. We hope you all have a lovely week, and we'll see you back next Saturday. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.